There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Nothing you can know that isn't known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need.
And good afternoon, everyone. What a great song to start our webinar off this afternoon. A warm welcome to everyone joining our webinar today. Today's focus will be the transition from FS to Year 1 with myself, Mr. Alex, and Miss Zoe, our head of Year 1. For those who don't know me, I'm the assistant head here at Victory Heights, and I'll be working closely with Year 1 this year. And we're hoping today's session will really help explain some of the transition experiences for FS coming into Year 1 and how we move from the early years framework to the national curriculum then. Miss Zoe will also be sharing the expectations for core subjects such as maths and English, and most importantly to us, kind of help aid and guide you with how we can help your child's education at home as well. So at the end, I will be also asking Miss Zoe some common questions associated to the transition from FS to Year 1. So hopefully those questions will really help plug some of the gaps maybe that you would like answering for your child's development in Year 1 now. But without further delay, I would like to hand over to our wonderful Miss Zoe, head of Year 1. Miss Zoe, hello.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Alex. So, yeah, like Mr. Alex just said, we just thought it would be good to give you more of an insight into Year 1. I know at the end of last year with Miss Sasha, we did a webinar all about the transition from FS to Year 1, and we did talk about then doing another one later on when the children have settled a little bit more to discuss that transition and to talk through some of the expectations in Year 1. So as you can see, we have tried to make this transition from FS as smooth as possible to Year 1. And we've done that by incorporating some of the foundation stage profile into our curriculum alongside the national curriculum. Now, this is really beneficial to every child as it helps the transition and it helps to prepare them for Year 1 and the national curriculum. And we've done that through teaching a mixture of practical and written lessons, and the children have a wide range of resources available for them, similar to some of the ones that they would have had in FS. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what the national curriculum is. So the children, like Mr. Alex has said, they're on the early years foundation stage profile when they're in FS1 and in FS2, and as they move into year 1 they move on to the national curriculum. Now the national curriculum will go through with them all the way to year 6 and on into high school with them, and it just is a range of subjects that teaches the children different knowledge and skills in different subjects, and it's just making sure that all the children have the right content and what they're being taught is correct for that subject. So as you can see, we follow the national curriculum for every subject, and we try to go through a topic-based approach with how we do our learning in year 1. So I know you will have seen the topic for each term before when we did our meet and greet, but I've just wanted to pop it up to remind you of what that was. So when I say we take a topic based approach to our learning, we try and have a cross curricular that all our subjects go under one umbrella. So for example, coming up after half term, the year 1 topic is transport, and we'll try and link every subject with that topic transport as possible. So for example, in science, we're doing materials after half term, and linking that to the transport, we will be making different transport vehicles, we'll be looking at waterproof and not waterproof, and we're definitely trying to always look at the topic that we're doing. Another one that we will be doing in English is we'll be reading a story which is based on transport as well, and the one that we're going to start off with is Emma Jane's Aeroplane, and it's all about her traveling in an aeroplane to different countries around the world. And alongside that, our humanities, which is what we do our project day lessons, will be starting off by looking at the first flight. We'll look at the Wright brothers, and different transport job roles. So we might look at firefighters, police cars, lots of different links come under that topic. And again, then when we move on to the United Kingdom and the oceans, we'll try and link all of our subjects to that topic. So I just wanted to go through some of the expectations for the different core subjects and how we teach that in year 1. So the first one is the maths expectations. And here you can see on the screen the different expectations that the children need by the end of the year. So please don't worry just yet, as we know every child starts at different points, but these are just some of the main points that we want the children to achieve by the end of year 1. So we've got counts to and across to 100, reads and writes numbers in words to 100. And I know that is seems like a really big one, especially writing the numbers in words. But again, we'll chunk it down, and we'll do each term, we'll do to 20, to 40, to 60. And so it's not all at once. Represents numbers pictorially, solve problems, and some multiplication and division comes in that too. Now, as you can see in the corner, the picture that I've got here, we teach the children concrete, which what we mean by that is that they've got cubes, they can do a lesson practically, they might use the Numicon. So for example, if we're doing an addition lesson, that can they add cubes together? Can they use different concrete objects that they've got in the classroom? And that's how we tend to do it in year 1. We start with a practical lesson, getting them used to the counting and using those concrete objects. We then go to pictorially, which is writing and drawing the different pictures. So for example, if they're adding 4, add 2, that maybe they can draw 4 circles, they can draw 2 circles with that. And then we move towards the end of the week to our abstract lessons, which again is the answering the questions, the more problem solving questions, where we expect them to explain how they've got to an answer. So we're trying to very much as well towards the end of the week in our maths lessons is allow the children to tell us how they got that answer and how they found out that answer. So yeah, that's how we do maths in year one. We do follow the White Rose scheme of work. So each week we'll have a different area to focus on. So very much in the beginning of year one, there's a lot of number work. And then we move on to shape, we'll move on to looking at time and different things across year one. So the writing expectations. Now, we always say for a child to be able to write that they need to be able to verbally say a sentence to begin with. So again, we do a lot of verbal oracy with the children in class, getting them to talk about different things, which will then help them and build their confidence to write a sentence. They do need to be writing sentences with capital letters, full stops, question marks, and exclamation marks as well. And when we say sentences, we do really need them to be writing probably a extended piece of writing with that as well. So it's not just that they can write one of those sentences, that they can write a paragraph about a subject as well. Use their imagination, form letters correctly, and be able to spell correctly as well. So when we say spell correctly, that means obviously applying those skills that are taught in science, so in phonics, so that they can then use them within their writing. Now you can see down the bottom here, that's something we called colourful semantics, and that's something that's been introduced to the children over the past couple of years in year one. This just helps them make sure that they are able to write and form sentences correctly and in a full sentence. So you can see here, for example, we have the who, so it may be the man, and the what doing, maybe swimming, what, you might be in the pool, where might it be happening, the children might choose a hotel to say that. And then also we can add more and more throughout the year to make the sentences more in depth and more in detail. So I know that last week we were doing what we call our cloud words, which is the description. So the children were adding adjectives to their sentence to make them more interesting, to make them more meaningful as well. We try, again, going back to the topic approach that we do, we try and do a book in English. And this book will last over about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the book. And throughout that, we'll do some reading lessons to begin with the book. We'll then do some writing sentences, maybe coming up with some adjectives to describe the characters. And then at the end of the 2 to 3 week block, that's then where we'd hopefully have all the skills and all the knowledge to be writing a more extended piece of writing. So the reading expectations really link in with our writing expectations in the fact that we normally start our English lessons at the beginning of the week with a reading lesson. And how that might be done is recently we've been obviously looking at front covers of the story. We've been making predictions about what we think is going to happen, the different characters in the book. Can we have a look and see what characters do we think is going to come up? What will happen with that character in the story? And then as the week progresses, we'll then introduce the story in a little bit more detail to the children, and then they will obviously do the writing alongside that. Some of the expectations for reading is to make sure the children enjoy what they're reading. The last thing we want is for them to not be enjoying reading and for not liking a story that they are reading. We want them to be reading books fluently, to be able to understand and talk about what they have read. So different things like asking them questions about the characters. What do we think is going to happen next? What do we think just happened? How did that character feel? So when you are reading with the children at home, or when we're doing our reading lessons in school, we are always asking those questions alongside the reading. We'd like the children to read and spell tricky words, common exception words, and words containing phase 3, 4, and phase 5 graphemes. And we can send out some more information about that if you've not got the list, but you should have had the list when the homework books went out. So just have a look through them. There's some of the words that we will be expecting the children to read and to spell. Now, recently it's come up more about how reading is done in year one. So we are trying to do more of a whole class guided reading sessions. And again, that's what I talked about us doing at the beginning of the year, ready with the story. And so the children will have the opportunity to read sentences in class. They'll be able to talk about what they have read. And then also in our phonics lessons, we have opportunities to be reading words and reading sentences all throughout the lesson. We also do try and read with the children on a one-to-one basis, but this is more when it is possible. I know personally, I try to do it at the end of the day and ask the children to get their books out, and so they can read to themselves, and I can go around and read with some of the children as well. So that's just something as well. If you could make sure the blue folders with your child's reading books are in their bag, this is then something that will help the teachers read with your children at home. And then we are going to be launching on Thursday our reading passport. So more information about that will come out on Wednesday and Thursday at the end of this week. And that's just something we're trying to put in place to encourage the children to read at home and in school where possible. So phonics links very nicely to our reading, and we have 20-minute phonics lessons every single day. Some children, we are on different phases. There's some children that are on phase 3, there's some that are on phase 4, and there's some that are on phase 5. At the end of the year, so in June, there is something called the phonics screening check. Now, this is something where the children will have 40 words. It's done on a one-to-one basis with an adult and with the child. There's 40 words. Half of them are not real words and half of them are real words. And the children are expected to read all of the words. Now, the whole point of this, when I first was in year 1 a few years ago, I thought, what is the point of children reading words that are not real? I couldn't really get my head around it. But the reason they do that, it's more about the sound, the digraph, the trigraphs that are in that word. So it's more about them recognizing the sound that's in the word. So it's a case of them trying hard to read that sound within that word, and it's more about that. So it's not the fact that it's not a real word, it's more, can the children recognize that phonic sound? And in that phonics screening check, there is phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5 sounds. So by the end of the year, by the end of year 1, by June time, we do really want the children to be secure on phase 5 in order to help support them with that phonics screening check. Now, the pass rate does change from year to year, depending what they say, but from when I can remember, it's always been 38 out of 40. So the children need to get 32 out of 40 in order to, what we say, pass the phonics screening check. Now, please don't panic and say, well, they're not going to pass. If they don't, it would just then give that next teacher that opportunity to know what sounds and to know what to work on with the children that didn't pass. And then they do have the opportunity to redo the check in year 2. So spellings will begin after half term, and the spellings will be in line with our phonics lessons as well. So the different spellings that we'll start off with, your child will get 6 spellings a week to learn. They will go out on a Thursday, and the spelling test will be done the following Thursday. We start off in year 1 by doing our tricky word spellings, and then we move on to spelling the days of the week, the months of the year. Now, this is something to not worry about. If we know that your child is on maybe a phonic phase where they need a little bit more support on, we will change those spellings to suit the children. So they are streamed, the spellings, to make sure they're at the right ability for your child. So please don't worry about that. One thing that we are going to do this year, we are going to put 1 or 2 spellings into the spelling test that have not been seen by the children for them to revise previously. We're doing this to make sure that we are consolidating all the previous spellings or the previous sounds that they have learned. So for example, 1 week in the spelling test, we might have some words that were done with the children in phase 3, or we might have some of the words, the tricky words that they were asked to learn when they were in FS2. So each week you'll have 1 or 2 extra spellings that you will not have been asked to revise with the children. So this is just something that I think is really, really important with the children, especially now that they are in year one. So some of the things that we would like you to work on with the children is making sure that they are independent. So one of the things that they can do at home is making sure they're able to change independently at home. Can they find their school uniform themselves? Can they put on their shoes and socks themselves? And this will really, really help with our swimming lessons. One being COVID, and that we would like the children to be getting changed independently. But also you can imagine that we have 25 children in the class, and trying to get 25 children changed after swimming, it is quite hard to do. So we do ask that you can encourage the children at home to be getting changed as independently as possible. And one of the other things, and I have seen this a lot, and I think the majority of the children are doing this now on their own, is walking into school on their own. So getting dropped off at the gate and walking through to their classroom on their own. And I have seen this a lot. So it's really good to see that the children are more independent with that. One of the things as well is trying to encourage the children to carry their bags for themselves. I do see sometimes around school that children, the first thing they do is hand their parents their bags. So it's just encourage them to take ownership of their own belongings and getting them to carry them for themselves. Another thing is remembering their water bottles, their reading books, their snacks, and just trying to encourage them to take ownership for themselves and be like, have you got your water bottle today? Have you got your reading books? Instead of it being, there's your water bottle, there's your reading books. And this will really, really support the children with their independence. So I'm going to go over to Mr. Alex, as I know he has got a few questions to ask.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Zoe, for that, that informative session. It's been important to kind of remember the expectations of year one, and how we prepare those children from that transition from FS to year one, the national curriculum, and also, that more directed teaching approach, which we do forget. So it's really wonderful to hear that. But also, I know you mentioned it a couple of times, but how we kind of focus on the play-based learning as well, because a lot of those foundations have been kind of put in place from FS, and we carry that through. So it's nice to see how we're doing our building blocks with year one. So yeah, amazing.
I think as well, people have this thing that when the children leave FS, that they go into year one and they're expected to sit down on a table and do work all together and not be able to move and stuff. So we have really incorporated the FS side to that, where they have a little bit more play-based learning, but also we're putting more challenge into that learning as well when they are in the environment. And I think the nice thing about this year is we do have that pod area outside our classroom, which we have that bigger space for the children to have more of that free flow, that continuous provision where they can learn a bit more independently on their own. And I think it's really, really important that we don't ever, in year one, especially at the start of year one, that we don't forget about that side to the learning in year one as well.
Yes, and again, it is vital for that cognitive development. So yeah, I totally agree. So I have a few questions here, Ms. Zoe. I hope you don't mind. And these are questions which have historically been asked by parents, and I thought maybe this is a great opportunity to share them with you. And those who are watching and listening back home, they definitely could hopefully take some notes and get some ideas of some of the questions and answers then. So question one I've got here: how does year one modify and challenge the children with the national curriculum?
Yeah, so we obviously plan as a team together, and we've been talking very much quite a lot about challenge and modifying the curriculum to suit different children. So one of the things that we do when we plan, we make sure we plan as high as we can to be able to challenge those children, definitely. And a lot more recently, we've been looking at in maths that, yes, the fluency is very good, that the children can answer the questions. But when I talked about more getting that deeper understanding, do they understand why it is showing that pattern? Do they understand how they got to that answer? So it's very much in the different lessons as well, more of that explaining and that understanding that we're getting from the children, that they're given the opportunity to speak and talk about what it is that they're learning as well. And modifying, we do have in the classrooms, we have word banks, we have sound mats, we have number lines, we have 100 squares, we have different apparatus for the children to use. So in lessons, if they're ever struggling, there's always those equipment for them to use and to have a go to help them answer the questions. And things like I know it's a bit sad at the moment, you can't get into classroom and everything like that to see what goes on in the classroom. But if you were to come in and you could see the environment set up, we do have challenges in the different areas. So, for example, here's just one complete example. One of the ones that we got out is it might be different pictures, and some of the children might be asked to just write adjectives about those pictures, whereas the challenge for the other children would be maybe, well, can you put that into a sentence? Can you make sure you're using a capital letter and a full stops? Can you have a go at using an exclamation mark? So again, also through the questioning, we're challenging, but we're also giving the children that independence to go to that area and to challenge themselves as well.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to that layered learning, making sure you're extending. Thank you very much. Yeah. Question 2, what can parents do at home to support their children?
Yeah, so obviously
quite a broad question, that is. Sorry.
Yeah. Obviously, we know that a lot of parents always say as well, oh, at the end of the day at 2:30, my child definitely doesn't want to sit down and do work. I completely get that. I completely get that the children will be tired, and sometimes I feel like that's probably not the best time to get the children because you're not going to get the best out of them. But little things that you could be doing at home to help the children, for example, if you're driving to school, if you're driving back to school, can you do counting? Can you do some addition sums? Can you use the language more than, less than with the children? When you're out and about, can you read that sign? What does that sign say? I am a firm believer that I do think reading with the children is one of the biggest things that you could do at home with them. Like, it doesn't have to just be that the child reads to you. Can you read their library book to them, and can they listen? Can you then ask questions about what they have read? As well, making sure that the homework is done as well at home with the children. So it's just a case of, I would say as well, reading for 5-10 minutes with the children, letter formation, number formation, just the basics, but obviously then the homework as well, and making sure you're reading with the children, that they're listening to you read as well to them, talking to them. I know that sounds really silly, but that is one of the big things as well, is that you talk to them. If you have sit down and you have dinner together, can you have a conversation like, oh, what did you do today? How was it? And I think that would really help the children as they move forward in year 1.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I like this question, the next question. I suppose it's quite important because obviously parents not able to come into school at the moment. But what does a typical day in year 1 look like at the moment? I think that's a nice question for parents to understand.
So obviously we have our specialist subjects and stuff like that, so they do slot in. So we start off the day with basic skills. The children will come into school and their basic skills books will be set out for them. They'll have on the screen, they'll have a different activity to do, or sometimes it might be they have an activity to do in their book. And normally our basic skills is more us consolidating the previous learning that they've done. So it could be something like practicing handwriting. It could be like, I know last week we were using the language greater than and less than. So in the basic skills, we are trying to embed that previous learning into the lessons, just because it's really important that we'll always keep practicing all those different things. And then we tend to then do phonics. Obviously, like I said, if there's a specialist, it may change the routine of the day slightly. We do phonics lesson, and then we would maybe have an English or a maths lesson. The children then, now that the weather's cooler, they get to go outside and have snacks. They get to go outside and have a run around. So we'll have break, and then we'll go into either maths and English again. And then we'll maybe have lunch, and we'll stop for lunch. And we are trying to get the children out as much as possible, but likewise, if it's a little bit too hot, then we can't with the children. So we tend to have lunch break, and then we'll go into what we say is our afternoon lesson, which could be moral education, social studies, science. And then on a Thursday, we have what we call our project day, where we do our humanities. In with all those lessons as well, in our maths lesson, we have what we call Flashback 4, which is a quick starter, which is normally done on whiteboards and pens with the children. We also have our word of the day, where the children will learn a new word each day. So likewise, we also do have those little things that come within the lessons as well.
Thank you very much, Miss Zoe. And I have a question, from StreamYard, from a parent. It's actually on the screen for you, Miss Zoe. I hope you don't mind answering this question. Do I understand correctly that we should send the reading books with kids to school every day so they can also read them at school?
Yeah, so I do try and encourage the children to keep the blue folder in their school bag with them, with their 2 reading books in. This is just, like I said, that at the end of the day, the children can have a go at sitting and reading their books themselves. It also gives us time to read with the children as well, on a one-to-one basis. So I would say, yes, if possible, the blue folder, the plastic blue popper folder that has the 2 books in, if possible, could stay in the bag. That would be great.
Fabulous. Again, if there are any other questions you'd like to ask parents at home, please just add it to the comments and we can share them. There is another question. I think Mr. Rothwell is going to share that on the screen. But the spelling test after half term will include the tricky word phase 1 to 5. Only the next spelling test will contain weekdays and months.
So what I meant with that, sorry, is we will work our way through. So the first set of spelling tests will be the tricky words. And again, you'll get 6 spellings each week. So we'll work our way through the spelling. And once the tricky words are done, we then move on to spelling weekdays. We'll then move on to spelling different months. We also then will go on to a spelling rule. So that may link to our phonics lessons. So for example, if it's the A sound, the AI sound, you may have 6 words to spell that have that digraph within those words. And like I said, there will be 2 unknown spellings that we've not asked you to practice at home. And that's just to make sure that we're practicing those with the children as well. But don't worry about spelling. I will, on Thursday, when the homework comes out, you will have the first 6 spellings to practice at home with the children.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think we have one more question, and that is, what are the biggest challenges that children face when they go to year 1?
Yeah, I
Final
think
question. This
is a tricky one, really. I do think one of the main things is the change of environment and the change of curriculum. It is a big difference, the curriculum, but and that's why I want to say that we do try that transition as smooth as possible, and that is why we are doing that continuous provision in year 1, is to ensure that they don't have those bigger challenges as much now, with all the changes that happen. The curriculum is a lot bigger. They have more subjects. We have obviously the humanities, which is the geography and history. They have the science, which is more, there's more to it. I don't want to sound like I'm saying in FS, there isn't. I don't mean that. There is more to be done with that, with them. And I think that's why we've tried to do Thursday as our project day, where we do that humanities. And it's so lovely because I know that when the children say it's Thursday, and they say in the morning when they come in, what's for project day this week? And it's like they know what's coming up, and it's that they can learn those humanities, that geography and history, but in a more fun way for them, really, and a more exciting way. So we try and do it practically. We try and do different things like making things with the children, and we have a little bit of art in there as well. So we do try and mix it up a lot as well.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Zoe. And I'd like to say, it's really great to see that you're sharing your expertise, your knowledge of year 1, and hopefully the parents have found this very informative and supportive, especially with their child going into year 1. Parents at home, thank you very much for setting some time aside to tune in and listen to Ms. Zoe share all her knowledge on year 1. And if there are any other questions, you're more than welcome to send Ms. Zoe or the other teachers some questions via Seesaw. I'm sure they'll get back to you and answer them. But yeah, for myself, say thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.